to the extent that it has become a priority as far as the president of the country is concerned and the ruling government. But it does appear that at this point in time, there is a lot that we don't even know of. A lot still remains hidden, Dr. Dangor.
Absolutely. I think that while there is greater recognition, we haven't been able to match the services that are required for the issues on gender-based violence sufficiently. So it's one thing for us to have the rhetoric. It's something completely different to be able to offer the programs and the services to women and children in the country who really need it.
Mm. Yes, now let's just talk about the services because obviously one requires a holistic approach to tackling this pandemic. And as you mentioned, it's rhetoric that is being repeated over and over again. Uh, we're certainly not doing enough, and that is the reason why we are obviously talking to you this morning and talking about the launch of this 24-hour toll-free shelter helpline. If you could tell us more, Dr. Zubeda.
Yes, so the National Shelter Movement of South Africa, over the period of the COVID pandemic, has realized that many, many women have not been able to have access to shelters. Either they were, because we do have the command center line, but, we had many, many difficulties with that experience. And we realized that women are actually not getting help. For this reason, the National Shelter Movement of South Africa embarked on this project to establish this national 24-hour toll-free helpline for survivors of gender-based violence, and particularly domestic violence and intimate partner violence.
Yes. Now, let's just Dr. Zubeda, while we are talking about the helpline and just looking at the helpline and the value that a helpline can add to women who are obviously looking at reaching out to somebody, but at the same time, in terms of providing the support that they require.
So typically the helpline would be offering a number of things. One is it would find the closest shelter for women whose lives are endangered, women and children whose lives are endangered. And they would then be able to go into shelter and start their own journey of recovery, and also to be safe. Because usually when a woman is very severely beaten and she wants help and she's trying to leave, this is often the time when women get killed. So this is something that the National Shelter Movement is really concerned about. We also feel that the National Shelter Movement wants to play a more significant role in helping women escape domestic violence and intimate partner violence at a point where they are completely intimidated and their lives are threatened. And the helpline will not only offer assistance with sheltering, but it will also help them with reporting crimes on gender-based violence. The helpline will further assist women in obtaining protection orders. The helpline is not specifically a counseling line. It is providing information around sheltering and gender-based violence, and then allowing greater accessibility to victims of violence to be placed in shelters so that they are safe and can start their recovery process.
Now, also, Dr. Dangor, this comes at an opportune time, and we know we've started off 16 days of activism against gender-based violence today. In terms of the launch, when is that happening?
So the launch is taking place on the 1st of December, and it will be live streamed on Facebook, although there is an in-person launch, but because of COVID, the numbers are very restricted, but it will be on Facebook. We'll send you the details of Facebook, and if you want to announce that to your listeners closer to the time, because at that launch, we will reveal the actual toll-free number, as well as the SMS number, WhatsApp number, where women might be able to text, because we often get told that women are not able to call in. And so there will be a text opportunity on WhatsApp for women to also call.
Yes, I think this is very important in terms of what you've just mentioned, in terms of not being not having the opportunity of basically calling. And we know that when we talk about gender-based violence, it knows no creed, no religion, no society, no race, because this is a problem right across the board. And in many instances, you will find that women are actually prevented from reaching out to somebody for assistance, or possibly, they may also feel too shy to basically come out in the open to report the violence and the abuse that is perpetrated. So, I think this is quite. I would say this is very, very important that they have this facility where they can at least possibly even send out a text message at the very least.
Absolutely, you're right that women often struggle. We've also had the experience during the hard lockdown that women were locked in with their abusers, and so they couldn't either get out to find help, or they didn't know that they could get out to get help because they thought that people weren't allowed out. And this made it incredibly difficult for women to reach out for help during the hard lockdown. Of course, that changed over a period of time as the lockdown became, less stringent. And so we did see, an increase of numbers of women going to shelters after the hard lockdown was kind of released,
Yes. Now, also, just before we take leave of you, Dr. Dangor, I know we've been talking about women, but let's just focus just for a little bit as far as children are concerned in these abusive relationships.
Absolutely. So the shelters, most shelters accept women and their children in shelters, and we know that children are extremely vulnerable because children bear the brunt of the abuse that goes on, within the context of their family. And, we have a poster that says by the age of 6, children have already learned about the abuse. And this, is the most powerful example that children have. And often boys use this and grow up to be men who continue to abuse. Of course, that's not true for all boys, but certainly for many. And we need to be able to change that trajectory. Women and children do need the safety, and children also need counseling to be able to work through their feelings and the situation that they've experienced so that they don't repeat what has happened in the context of their own family.
Well, Dr. Zubeda Dangor, Jazakallah for that and for your time with us this morning. And closer to the launch, obviously we will stay in touch. And when the launch takes place and further information or more information becomes available as far as the helpline goes, we definitely will touch base with you, inshallah. But for now, we thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Dr. Zubeda Dangor from the National Shelter Movement of South Africa with us this morning as we have kicked off in this country 16 days of activism, and that is against gender-based violence and children.
Where in this dunya am I going to find a scarf to match my outfit? Only at Al Shazia, the scarf specialist.